Welcome to the realm of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Enjoy listening. Frank Sullivan was one of the bravest entrepreneurs in human history. By initiating travel between Earth and space, he had turned humanity's dream of journeying among the stars into a reality. Thanks to him, the first contact between humans and extraterrestrials was established, building a bridge between the two species. However, Frank's career had taken a dark turn due to a mistake he had made years ago. It all began with the construction of a colossal spacecraft known as the Galactic Bridge. This vessel was designed to be a symbol of peace and cooperation, allowing both humans and extraterrestrials to travel together. Frank was at the helm of the project, and everything seemed to be going perfectly. The voyages of the ship were progressing smoothly. However, years later, a great catastrophe struck the Galactic Bridge. One day, the Galactic Bridge, carrying both human and alien crew members, set off into the depths of space. But shortly afterward, all communication with Earth was lost. The ship had vanished in the blink of an eye. There was no signal, no trace, nothing. Frank and his team tried every possible method to track the ship's whereabouts, but their efforts yielded no results. The extraterrestrial community saw this event as a massive betrayal. They believed that humans had stolen the ship, misusing alien technology for their own benefit. Frank was held responsible for the tragedy and was subsequently banned from entering space colonies. The relationship between humanity and the extraterrestrials was nearly severed. Despite the accusations, Frank had always been a wise and compassionate man. He had a deep bond with both humans and extraterrestrials, known for his generosity and kind heart. For years, he tirelessly sought the truth behind the disappearance of the Galactic Bridge. Every night, he gazed at the sky, wondering about the fate of the lost crew and ship. Then, one day, a mysterious message arrived at Frank's office. It was from the extraterrestrials. They invited him to a remote station, claiming they would reveal the truth about the Galactic Bridge. However, there was one condition. Frank Sullivan, if you wish to learn the truth, join us. If you come to the station, we will explain everything about the Galactic Bridge. But there is one condition: we will chain your hands. This is merely a precaution to ensure you do not attempt to flee. You will be in a safe environment, do not worry. Once you step through the door, you will see everything. The choice is yours. Frank took the invitation seriously. This was his long-awaited opportunity to uncover the truth, and he was determined to take it. Accepting their terms, he set off for the station. Upon arrival, Frank was met by the extraterrestrials. They bound his hands, but they treated him with respect and courtesy. In front of him stood 4 green-skinned women, each holding a small black box. Frank, feeling a mixture of resignation and anticipation, lowered his head and waited for the door to open. As Frank stood at the threshold of the extraterrestrial station, he pondered what lay ahead. His hands were chained, yet his mind remained free. He was on the verge of finally discovering the truth. The door slowly opened, and Frank stepped inside. The room illuminated in an unexpected manner. The walls displayed projections of the final voyage of the Galactic Bridge. Frank watched as the ship mysteriously disappeared into a spatial anomaly. But this was no accident. The footage clearly showed that the extraterrestrial leader had deliberately directed the vessel into the anomaly. It was all a conspiracy. Frank's heart sank as he realized the truth. For years, he had been blamed for an incident that was in reality orchestrated by the extraterrestrial leadership. Tears welled in his eyes. "Why?" he whispered. "Why did you do this?" At that moment, one of the green-skinned women stepped forward, gently lifting Frank's chin. "Raise your head, Frank. We have been assigned to you," she said in a soft voice. Frank gazed at her in astonishment. She opened the black box in her hands, revealing a holographic identification card. The other 3 women did the same. The IDs confirmed that these 4 women were once the most trusted advisors of the extraterrestrial leader. However, realizing his grave mistake, the leader had decided to send them to Frank as compensation. One of the women spoke. "Our leader extends his deepest apologies for the mistake that was made. As a gesture of atonement, he has sent us to you." From now on, we will be by your side." Frank was taken aback, but quickly regained his composure. The pain he had endured for years began to fade, replaced by a sense of closure. The extraterrestrial leaders attempt to make amends, and the presence of these four women marked a turning point in his life. Together, Frank and the women left the station. He had uncovered the truth behind the disappearance of the galactic bridge and was ready to begin anew. They boarded his spacecraft and set course for Earth. Frank's home was located in a quiet corner of the world, far from the bustling cities. The women adapted quickly to their new surroundings. Despite his advancing age, Frank found himself living a fulfilling life alongside them. Each of them contributed to his well-being in different ways. One shared her wisdom and knowledge with him, another helped manage the household, another engaged in deep conversations about the mysteries of the universe, while the last always uplifted his spirits. Frank was no longer alone. The pain of losing the galactic bridge still lingered, but it no longer consumed him. Every day he spent with these women brought him a newfound sense of peace and purpose. As time passed, his bond with them deepened. At first, they were simply companions, easing his loneliness and sharing his burdens. But soon, something more profound blossomed between them. They were not just sent to him as a form of restitution. They genuinely cared for him. Each woman had her own unique personality and way of supporting him. One of them was deeply intellectual, engaging Frank in long conversations about science, philosophy, and the mysteries of the universe. Another was nurturing, ensuring he was well-fed, rested, and at peace in his home. The third had a playful spirit, always lifting the atmosphere with her humor and optimism. And the last was his silent pillar of strength, always standing by his side in quiet solidarity. Eventually, Frank came to realize that he loved them. Not just as friends or companions, but truly and deeply. And what surprised him most was that they felt the same. One evening, as they all sat together under the vast night sky, one of them finally spoke the words they had all been thinking. "Frank, we don't want to leave you. We want to be with you, forever." His heart pounded in his chest. He looked at each of them, seeing the sincerity in their eyes. It was an unconventional idea, but then again, his entire life had been unconventional. After everything he had been through, after all the loss and hardship, why should he deny himself happiness? So they made a decision. A small ceremony was held, nothing grand, nothing official in the eyes of any government, but to them it was sacred. Frank married all four of them. They pledged their lives to one another, forming a bond that transcended cultures, planets, and species. From that moment on, Frank's days were filled with warmth and love. His home became a place of laughter, of long conversations by the fireplace, of shared meals and whispered secrets. The pain of the past never fully disappeared, but it no longer ruled his heart. Years passed, and Frank grew older, but he was never alone. His wives cared for him, cherished him, and made sure that every day was filled with joy. They traveled together, exploring both Earth and the stars, seeking out lost knowledge and hidden wonders. Their journeys took them to distant planets, forgotten civilizations, and ancient ruins buried beneath alien landscapes. On a red desert world, they uncovered an abandoned city where the walls whispered in a long-lost language. On a lush jungle moon, they swam in glowing blue rivers surrounded by bioluminescent creatures that danced in the water. They walked through the remains of a derelict space station, frozen in time, still carrying echoes of the lives that once inhabited it. Frank, despite his aging body, never lost his curiosity. His wives made sure he never had to lift a finger unless he wanted to. They handled the logistics, piloted the ships, and kept him safe. He was their leader, their protector, their beloved husband, but they had also become his guardians. Back on Earth, their home became a sanctuary. It was a quiet retreat far from the noise of the cities, nestled in a valley where the sky was always clear. Nights were spent sitting outside, watching the stars, telling stories, and reminiscing about their adventures. One of his wives built a beautiful garden filled with plants from different planets. Strange, luminous flowers bloomed next to Earth's roses, and vines from distant worlds coiled around carved stone pillars. Another wife created a massive library filled with scrolls, tablets, and digital archives from across the galaxy. Frank would spend hours there reading and learning, always expanding his mind. The third wife became a skilled musician, playing alien instruments that filled the air with melodies no human had ever heard before. And the fourth, his quiet pillar of strength, was always by his side, ensuring that his days were peaceful and filled with love. As the years went on, Frank knew his time was approaching. His body was slowing down, his steps were heavier, but his heart remained light. He had lived a life of adventure, love, and redemption. On his final day, he sat in the garden, watching the twin moons rise, one from Earth, one from a distant world where his wives had come from. They sat with him, holding his hands, whispering words of love. He smiled, feeling nothing but warmth. "I had a good life," he said softly. His voice was weaker now, but it still carried the warmth and wisdom his wives had come to cherish. They sat around him, their hands gently resting on his, their eyes filled with love and sorrow. The twin moons cast a silvery glow over the garden, illuminating the vibrant alien flowers and the ancient stone bench where Frank now sat for what would be the last time. "You gave us a good life," one of them replied, her voice steady yet tender. Frank smiled, his eyes twinkling with the memories of countless adventures, quiet nights filled with laughter, and the love that had carried him through the years. His wives had been his greatest gift, his greatest adventure. He had started as an outcast, a man wrongfully blamed for a tragedy beyond his control. But now, here he was, not alone, not abandoned, but cherished until his final breath. The air was filled with the faint scent of exotic blooms, their petals shimmering under the moonlight. The gentle hum of distant insects provided a soothing backdrop to their final moments together. One of his wives softly hummed a melody, an ancient song from her homeworld, a tune that spoke of love that transcended time and space. Frank's breath grew shallower, but he felt no fear. He squeezed their hands gently, reassuring them, even as his strength waned. "Don't be sad," he murmured. "I was lost for so long, but you found me. You all saved me." Tears welled in their eyes, but they did not let them fall. They wanted him to leave this world in peace, without the burden of their sorrow. One of them pressed her forehead to his, her cool skin comforting against his warm brow. Another ran her fingers gently through his silver hair, while the others held his hands tightly, as if their love alone could keep him here just a little longer. "You will always be with us," one whispered. Frank exhaled softly, his gaze lifting to the stars one last time. They had been his calling, his obsession, his downfall, and yet, in the end, they had also been his salvation. He closed his eyes, his lips curving into a peaceful smile. His wives felt the exact moment he drifted away. A soft sigh, a final breath, and then stillness. The garden seemed to hold its breath with him. The stars above shimmered, as if honoring the passing of a man who had once dared to reach them. For a long while, they simply sat there, holding him, their grief quiet yet profound. They did not wail, did not break down. Instead, they honored him in silence, knowing that he had left this world exactly as he had wished, surrounded by love, with no regrets. In the days that followed, they prepared a burial unlike any other. He would not be left behind on Earth alone, nor would he be cast into the void of space as was customary for many starfarers. Instead, they built a crystal chamber, one that would rest in the heart of their garden, surrounded by the flowers he had loved, the books he had cherished, and the melodies that had lulled him to sleep. Each of them left a token inside the chamber, a piece of their own culture, a symbol of their bond with him. A delicate silver ring from one, a glowing gemstone from another, a hand-woven cloth embedded with stardust, and finally, a single white feather, representing the ancient stories of her people about souls finding their way home. As they sealed the chamber, they stood together, holding hands, their hearts heavy yet full of love. "We will see you again," one of them whispered, gazing up at the endless sky. Somewhere, someday, life went on, as it always did, but the love they had shared with Frank never faded. They carried his memory with them in every journey, in every quiet moment spent beneath the stars, and somewhere in the vast cosmos, perhaps among the stars he had once dreamed of reaching, Frank Sullivan rested in eternal peace, forever remembered, forever loved.